Good evening, everyone, and welcome to PGS, which brings us to round 11 here from Las Vegas. Who will put it all in red? Who will put it all in black tonight? We'll have to see, as the cars will be racing up and down the famous Las Vegas Strip. Will be definitely an interesting experience. For these, maybe an interesting place to league race as such. Also, just a quick audio, just testing to make sure the audio seems all good. Yep, seems like we're all good in the audio front. Anyway, so quick old thing while we are waiting for drivers to come out on track. From after last week, after round number 10, which was at the Mexico circuit. It was definitely an interesting experience. Some drivers who we expect to do better, or expect to do much better than they were expecting to do, and drivers who did a lot better than they were expecting to do. Also, just one thing, you will notice the driver in the Red Bull, the other Red Bull alongside Bulk, is indeed fine. He's on a new account due to issues with his PlayStation. He's on his side, so that is the reason why he is like that. So that is still him. It's going to be Lawson who's going to be first out on track around this Las Vegas circuit. But anyway, while he's heading round to start on his first lap round here, just a quick look at the drivers and constructor standings. With the driver standings looking like it is Gus leading the drivers championship here tonight on 159 points to Wombat's 157. Of course, he is not here tonight, so this is a chance for the Aston Martin driver to pull away even further in the championship. Then it is Mel in third on 92, quite a few points further back at this point, but it's still in third, but just ahead by about 10 points of the second of the two Aston Martins, Jerry. Then Jesper, who we haven't seen for a few weeks, he's on 77 points in fifth, Bulk in sixth on 64. Then Razam is in seventh on 61. He is not here tonight either, I do not believe. Then Lawson, who we're on board with, is currently in 8th in the standings on 57 points. Had a very up and down season, a lot of DNFs and a lot of money. One did not start on that, but has scored points on the times when he has indeed been here, as he is just coming around to start on his first lap. Dave Scott is in 9th, and then rounding off the top 10 is Hazard, who we have not seen for a while. Your constructors standings, if we are looking at it, is looking along the lines of Aston Martin leading the constructors on 241 points to Racing Bull's 234, one of the closest battles on the track. And the battles in terms of the constructors at the moment. Ferrari in third on 149, kind of in a little bit of a field of their own at the moment, with quite a big gap to Racing Bulls in front, and McLaren behind on 86 in fourth. Then it is Alpine behind, having moved up 2 positions with the points scored last time out about 2-3 weeks ago in Mexico. Then it is Red Bull on 67 with 2 drivers, I think, for the first time in quite a long while as such, and then Haas on 60 points, just 7 points behind, with Kickstarter in 8th on 39, and Mercedes are the last of the point scorers on 11, and it could be a chance for Williams to score points tonight with 2 drivers in the field and only 10 drivers, so looking like everyone will get points here tonight. So yeah, that I believe is all that needs to be covered on that one, as Lawson is coming around to complete his third sector split, one of the very quick sectors on this track. There we go, thank you, that's what I was looking for. So of course, you know, the Las Vegas in real life was a Grand Prix held, I believe, only for the first time last year in terms of racing venues, and very much a divisive track that people will enjoy or people perhaps might not enjoy. It just depends on how you view it as Bulk goes to the top. He does a 32.4. Lawson did a 34.4 in the Ferrari there, as fine there on his first lap in the field here. I'm looking forward to seeing how he gets back on. Obviously, it's been a few weeks since we have seen the Red Bull driver driving as such in the league, having had a few technical difficulties. Castaster sets a fastest lap of 32.416. Next driver to cross the line is likely to be one of the Aston Martins. Yes, it is. It's going to be Gulias who's the line to line next to current championship leader. He's not with ERS on at the moment, so I'm assuming he's going to go for another lap time around, so there'll be no improvements there. He does still do a 131.7 actually, so completely take back what I just said. He manages to go to the top of the timesheets for the time being, so good lap time there from the Aston Martin driver. I think the next one to the line is likely to be, I believe it's going to be Syria or Norris there. You can see brand new driver for tonight. Looking forward to seeing how the Williams driver gets on in his first race here in PGS as we come towards the nearly towards the end of the season here in PGS. Only about another 5 or 6 rounds left to go here, as the only car in the pits is Jevy at the moment on intermediates for his own reasons, of course. But we will have the drivers probably coming back in as it's a quick track coming in, doing another lap soon on this one. Obviously, not much history behind this track as such, but the most known and what you can see feature of this track, of course, is the Vegas sphere, which overlooks the entire track and oversees everything. Well, you could technically call almost the overseer of the track as such. Just bear with me, I just need to see if I can get the certain driver back in. That's not what I was looking for. Give me one moment. That's an invite from earlier on. If he's online, I can see him. No, this could be a problem. Let's see. There we go. Right. I think everyone is indeed coming back into the pits once again, but we should see another 2, maybe 3 laps for the drivers before we get to the end of qualifying, obviously. Good evening to yourself. Hopefully you're doing well there, Joey. I look forward to seeing how you get on once again, as per usual, as well as everyone else, of course, around this very cool night air circuit. Night matching the sort of current conditions I have for this time of year. It's always an interesting thing, or I'd say interesting, but it's it's something I think is a bit more sort of depressing when you see how dark it is quite early, at least in this part of this world anyway. We'll go on board with Jevy because I'll take us through a lap of this Las Vegas circuit. But yeah, as we are watching the last of the drivers head round to finish on what will be their first laps. So a 17 corner circuit, or around about circuit length 6.201 kilometers or 3.853 miles. Normally a 50 lap circuit in full 100% commitment mode, or full distance, but it'll be half of that distance for the 25 laps we have for this particular race. Of course, F1 has raced in Vegas before under a few different guys in the past, but none I don't think quite captured the successes that the the Grand Prix did, although I will not sure if I agree 100% on the ticket prices as such. As here comes Chevy coming out of turn 16 up towards turn 17 to start his first lap. The only place you'll see a curved front straightaway for the race start. We see in towards turns number 1 and 2, a long flowing left-hander set, where you'll also see the pit lane cuts in and out as well, and in towards turns number 3 and 4, 2 long flowing right-handers. Down the straights where you'll see the DRS activate in the race itself, and in towards the very tight right-hander of turn number 5, which heads you in towards the long flowing but very tight ender into 6, which then equals into 7, then into the very tight right-hander of turn 8 and into turn 9, another tight left-hander, and then down this sort of small curve back straight which has the kinks of 10 and 11, which takes you down towards turn number 12 here on the circuits. Now you'll be up to a very tight and sudden left-hander as you go on towards turn 12, and then the kink at turn 13, which leads you down towards where the second of the DRS straights will be, as he gets a little bit of cheeky slipstream off of what I believe was a McLaren Williams there. Don't know how I got that wrong. And in towards turn number 14 he will head with the DRS. Once again, the DRS will be the factor there in the race. In towards this corner here, a place where you will be able to make a move on the track, and in towards 14, 15 and 16 complex, and back towards we head towards turn number 17. A bit of contact with the wall, he's probably about to run out of deployment, but he should be alright. As he heads towards line, it's going to be a 32.7 for the Aston Martin driver. So, and that is your lap time on board with the for this racetrack. So we'll see who else is currently on board with a lap at the moment. It looks like Tiger is currently in 6-2 split, but he's down on his time by a 1.5 tenths at the moment. But yeah, circuit is a kind of, as I say, very divisive in terms of how people think about it. Some people do like to drive it, and then some people just do not like this track at all. I mean, my kind of views on a track like this is you don't really tend to see the actual... There's no real heritage to a track like this. It's kind of, they take a normal streets, or they take normal streets and just turn them into a racetrack as such, and it feels like that you've got what I would think is like a mix of every kind of corner type, a bit like a Kota sort of thing. Even though this is a very different experience to Kota, you're running way lower wings, as I can see there. That's the mistake. That's how easy it can be to catch yourself out right at the end there at the 14-15 complex, or 14-15 complex there, as you can see. I believe that's the right complex of corners right there. But yeah, Tiger does back off into the pit lane, so no improvements there. We're going to go back on board with the, I think that's not the Aston Martin I was thinking it was, that wasn't a lap, so the Aston Martin is currently not on a lap at the moment, so I think it is Hysteria. Yes, it is, in the American in the Williams. I believe he's got that, he's in that seat. I don't know if he's full-time in that seat now. He was a reserve for the first few races he was here. I don't know if he has now been given a full-time seat. But obviously, Williams obviously in the race today in Brazil, obviously not the best of results for them, with both of their cars not making it to the end of the Grand Prix, with Alex Albon obviously in qualifying. The damage being too much for him not to be able to do the race itself. As Hysteria goes into P2, he does doing a 1:31.8. Not far off actually from the quickest time there of Goulas at the moment. I believe that is a Red Bull coming around to complete a lap. Is that by any chance? No, it's not. Must be the Red Bull is out on an out lap at the moment, so I believe mine has just been validated right as he's headed round the turns 1 and 2 complex, so he's going to have to go all around again, which will not be fun in all of that, of which there indeed does go Goulas. He does a 31.3, just catching him as he crosses the line, so the Aston Martin driver is again pulling out a much bigger gap than he already has on his rival now, that being Mel in the Ferrari, the Dutch driver who has been a very quick driver to watch since arriving within the league since about Spain onwards, I believe, but has looked good, and I believe has taken 2 race victories this season within the league, so Ferrari driver looking good for that 3rd spot at the moment, choosing not to take the chicane, obviously not on a lap at the moment. So I believe we have a car coming towards the line, probably starting on a lap. That's probably Bulk, who is indeed does a 32.3, who's on a set of mediums actually, so that would be a decent, that's not a nice improvement there if that was the case. Looks like just finished on a lap has the Red Bull driver. I think that is Lawson, who's currently in 10th, coming around to complete a lap. He's 1.5 seconds down though, so no improvements on that front from the Ferrari driver and into the pits. He is going to go to complete that, to finish up on that one, as Nell is also on an lap as well. Yes, the Dutch driver is indeed on that. Only one McLaren this week. Was supposed to be 2 here, but unfortunately not. As I think this McLaren driver is indeed on a flying lap at the moment. As you can see, the DRS is open on that car. Very sort of tricky spot there as he heads out of those 2 kinks, because you do need to get that right to set yourself up for this entire section. Obviously he's coming to the pits just now, but you do need to make sure you get that 100% correct, because if you do not get that right, you can have issues with those particular corners as such. And as everyone is going back into the pits, as Tiger is going to be the first one back out with about 2.5 minutes left in this qualifying session. The short qualifying format as per usual, with the 20 or 50% race distance, which will be 25 laps around this particular circuit. Would not be the first time I have actually seen this track as a spectator or as a commentator. I have seen this race once before, of course. The race, I believe this was used in between, was one of the tracks that was used in the off season back last season, back in between this season and last season. And back then, as I say, that produced some great racing with the drivers there at the time in Tier 2, with some of the drivers that were indeed still here at the time. So looking forward to seeing how some of those drivers, if they have managed to remember see if they remember how everything does indeed play out. Obviously that was only 25% race distances, but these depends on how much really changed between now and then in terms of that, in terms of how the setups perhaps would have changed. All that's good jazz. As a Tiger enters Sector 2 currently at the moment, about to go into the Sector 3, which really, Sector 3 is, for the most part, he's currently down in his time by 2.8 seconds, so I think he has made a mistake, so he's going to be not improving on that one. Chuck Norris just ahead of him. The new driver, already done a 32.5 on his first run. What is he going to do on this run here? What's the improvements going to be for him? It doesn't look like there's going to be improvements here. He looks like he made a mistake on that, and he's going again on that lap. A lot of mistakes being made on the first runs here. Perhaps wanting to get 2 runs in, so Bolt currently on a set of medium still, running around on the medium compound tyres. He's done a 32.0 at the moment as the Red Bull driver. Interesting about the fact that it would be interesting to see how with the tyres you had to start on, if you were in the top 10, if that rule is still a thing, how people would approach that, and if people would still start on the same tyres that you didn't even qualify on, because obviously back a little bit ago, so that would have been a point that would have been interesting on trying to see where you could actually get through to or qualify on. If you qualify on a harder compound to make your life easier in the races, I think that's a little bit that has been missed since the removal of that tyre rule. I mean, I can understand partly also why it was removed. It was removed as well because people struggling as there as well, indeed cutting a little bit of the chicane. So the validation there, as Gules has not managed to get back out for laps, and no improvements there with Vine also in 4th and Lawson in 10th. No improvements for those drivers. I think Giavi is about to come across the line and set a lap time. He's currently in Sector 2 at the moment, so it will not be him first across. Will it be one, or will it be his theory is going to be first across? No. His bulk has crashed out, or he's retired in the pit lane, so there'll be no improvements there. Will he be able to set a quicker time than that? Yet does not improve by 21 hundredths of a second. He is down on his time, but no improvements there from the Williams driver. As Tiger's going to be next to come across the line, he's 2 tenths down as well. No improvements there from the Kicksauber. He's a second slower in the end than his previous lap times. So it's going to be Hysteria up next to the line, who's improving by 1.25, and he almost improves by 3 tenths of a second to move up into second. He does a 31.5. Mel coming across the line as well, just behind half a second found, and it's going to be pole position there for the Ferrari driver. So the Dutch driver is looking to cement their position in this field, and cement that third place. So great little result in qualifying there for our driver. There was still the McLaren to come across the line as well, but I don't know if there was an improvement from Kistasar in the end. So we'll have to see. Steer once again having a few issues there. Your qualifying results here for the Vegas Grand Prix. Here, round 11 at PGS, it is Mel on pole with Gules alongside, unable to get his final run on the board, being going out too late. Hysteria and final lineup 3rd and 4th, with Bulk and Kistasar 5th and 6th. Chuck Norris in place on his debut with Tiger in 8th, and then Jevy and Lawson round out your top 10. As we get ready to go racing here in Las Vegas. We'll see if we can get one of those drivers that was did have a little bit of trouble. Just bear with me just a moment. Once again, I do believe I just have to go down pretty much all the way down to the bottom of my list to find the driver. There we go. Anyway, as we are getting ready to go racing here in Vegas, we have the strategies just about to be. I'll see if I can find out what we'll see what the drivers may well be deciding to start on. Everyone looks like they are medium compound tires. The one thing to note about Vegas is the closeness of all the walls here. So there may well be runoff in a few places here, but not many tracks have runoff, so you're going to see potentially a lot of safety car deployments here, and 10 drivers are starting this race. We'll see if 10 drivers make it to the end, because this is definitely going to be an interesting one to line up for the race itself. But of course, with only 10 drivers, there may well be a less chance of absolute chaos, because I do know I am doing this race next in my next league race, so that's going to be a fun one potentially. Looking at seeing how it does actually shape up as a track. As it looks like, here we go. We are underway racing here. Very sort of quick start here. No formation lap, of course, and we are racing underway here in Las Vegas. Good start there from Mel, going side by side with Goliath, trying to reclaim the lead, or trying to get back into the lead of the Grand Prix after having lost a pole position in the final runs. Of course, no DRS of course yet. That will be enabled on lap number 2. They're going side by side almost. It looks like we've got a side by side moment behind. That's Kistasar and Bulk side by side behind. Gulas does indeed have to stay behind. Looks like Kistasar nearly ending up in the back of in the back of the Red Bull there. As there's a little bit of a moment. That's Kistasar falling down positions there, having a little bit of a moment, and that is Sear still not quite, as I say, needs to get himself back into session, of course. Hopefully he got the right. We are then following there is Jevy and Steer going side by side. Steer obviously not in the race at the moment. A little bit further up, got Bulk half second behind at the moment on Gulas. Gulas still in 4th. As there indeed is Hysteria. Control back off his car, of course. As Jevy trying to go side by side with the brand new driver of Chuck Norris, which says no. Still saving a little bit of battery as the Aston Martin driver goes to the inside. He's going to be able to make a move down the inside, not too far behind. Once again is the Aston Martin. The Portuguese driver trying to make his move, but he is not quite on the mark there. But it does look like there's a bit of a mistake there from the Williams driver. This is going to be an opportunity the Aston Martin driver needs, and that's going to be up the inside and towards this final corner, the curved final corner, which takes you on towards turn number 1 once again, as we now start lap number 2 of 25 here, as we're going to go on board with it looks like a bit of a mistake there from Kistasar. Does still have DRS, but Bulk's behind on those medium compound tyres. Interesting to know why. Could have actually maybe got a little bit higher up if maybe use the softs, but who knows? Who might actually, I suppose, judge who the drivers, what the drivers decide not to do. Of course, they know probably a bit more than me. I only race for 5s these days, considering I've lost quite a lot of my pace from previous. But the Red Bull continues to pressure the back of the McLaren here, as we're probably going to see the DRS in effect, already been in effect probably as from the end of lap number 1, of course, but this is where you're really going to see it coming through. It's where we're coming through to now. Important to get a good exit there, but with a little bit of a slide as the two Williams go side, will switch positions back in 8th and 9th, as Tiger I think has had a moment, as you're going to see how much this actually, how overpowered this actually is as they go down the straight, maxing out the cars, of course. You're going to see if you can make them down the inside, but the Red Bull driver is a little bit wide though from Kistasser. Kistasser's going to have a compromise line that goes side by side, and there goes round to the Red Bull. That's a real unfortunate one there. He needs to be a little bit careful of that. He's taken off the entirety of the front wing now, so unfortunately that is a bit of an issue there, as we have a virtual safety car deployed. As I think Vine was about to make a move on the leader of the Grand Prix. Unfortunately, that virtual safety car meant he had to come to a dead stop. Skatasser and Lawson swap positions, of course. I think there might have been someone under safety car for that one. So only the virtual will not be going and upgraded to a full safety car. So drivers will have to make sure they stick to the deltas to make sure that they do not end up speeding and picking up a drive-through, because as Bolt goes on to the hards, should be able to take him to the end of the Grand Prix. The hards are a very durable tyre around here. As nice to see Vine back, of course, after quite a few weeks of having issues with, I believe, PlayStation himself not being able. I think he had some connection troubles or his account with his account issues. So he is on, of course, a brand new account, as you can see, their brand new name, but. The Red Bull driver, of course, I think he's been missed from Red Bull from the last few weeks, because Red Bull have looked to have struggled a little bit with just one scoring points, and maybe dropping a little bit further down the Constructors' Championship than they would have been hoping to, as the safety car, or virtual safety car, is still out at the moment here on lap number 3 here, for what was the front wing loss, as DRS has been enabled once again. Not quite the ideal start there, as the championship leader, of course, trying to extend his gap, is trying to get himself past the two cars in front, as Costello looks like he's been caught out just a little bit, and that's going to be a chance for Lawson, who started P10, up 5 positions, up to P5, so a good start there from the second of the two Ferraris, a little bit further back there in P5. Gulas meanwhile still trying to make his way through on Vine, trying to get past and get back into second place. We'll have to see on the back of the Red Bull if he gets to see how close he does indeed get. I'm not sure if he is indeed going to get close enough to make a move. Systeria is looking a little bit further back to make a move on Chevy. Those two going side by side. Looks like Hysteria has indeed got the move done. Almost locks up. I think he's picked up a bit of wing damage, unfortunately, there. Lose 2 positions potentially. Is he going to back out? But yes, he is. Decides to not fight his teammates. Chuck Norris tries to go side by side. I think there was some contact there. I don't know if Chevy's maybe gotten a legal overtake there on potentially the Williams driver there, because that was interesting. They ended off track there. So perhaps some gentlemen's agreements going on there between those two, as the Red Bull driver of once again trying to have a go here on the back of Mel and the Ferrari. Two Williams swapping positions a little bit further back. DRS being used here, going to the outside, and you'll see just how powerful the DRS. However, his move is not complete though. The Red Bull driver eventually does get the better of Mel in the Ferrari, who does eventually have to yield, as we've got a yellow flag. That's Castasso. That's most likely going to cause a safety car. Yes, it is. So Castasser is out of this Grand Prix on the straight. I think he's had some contact potentially with someone there, and that has caused him to be out of the Grand Prix. And I suspect we will see drivers pitting now for a new set of tyres. And the race is neutralised. So yeah, we are under lap number 5. A virtual safety car and a safety car already deployed here in the race, and I believe everyone will, of course, as I said just previously, come into the pits and change on to most likely the hard compound tyres. Unfortunate there from Castasser, no point score for McLaren this week, and that is not going to help their causes in the constructors. For them, as obviously no David Scott either, unfortunately, this week for him, as the safety car now driving around and bunching the pack up once again, and everything once again is neutralised. So we will now see how Vine takes up on this safety car restart, because I don't think, I don't know, I can be corrected if I am wrong, but I don't believe he has had a safety car restart as of yet. So I could entirely be incorrect on that front, but I think that the Red Bull, that might be the Red Bull driver, might be one of his first and maybe only few safety car restarts. But we'll have to see how that one plays out. As Mel still in second place at the moment, I believe we're going to see into the pit soon is likely to be the drivers now, unless they decide to stay up, maybe thinking there's going to be another safety car. We'll see him and decide to go, and looks like second place is indeed going in, but the Red Bull driver is staying out, so it looks like we're going to have a Williams there now taking up position there, as indeed he is indeed carrying on. So is Chuck Norris, and so is Tiger. Also, you know, Tiger has gone on to the mediums. He's already pit once, of course. Everyone will be on to the hard compound tyres behind them. Welcome 3-lap-old hards already, as well as JVM 1-lap-old hards. So those are interesting to note that those are worn tyres. Probably started on those, I would think, to note. But yeah, we will see when this all comes in, as it's interesting to see the top 3 opting to stay out. Maybe there's something we don't know that they, I don't know that they know. Perhaps we've got some weather incoming, who knows? Difficult to tell, of course, because of the fact that obviously night time and not being able to see unless you see on top of the hills, but of course the colder conditions, if they are anything like real life, it's Grand Prix, make the track harder to heat tyres up, so those could be an interesting point to see how indeed that does go. With those on the hards now probably having to get those tyres up to temperature, not so much for bulk, those tyres will be a little bit rubbered in already, of course, so he will be able to get those up to temperature a little bit more quickly than those drivers around him. But of course we know Tiger's been in the pits for a set of hard compound tyres, and he's also been back out. He's been on the mediums once again, of course. Let's see if those tyres can take the Kicksauber driver to the end of the Grand Prix, of course. Last year you will see next year the Kicksauber livery, because after 2026 that will become Audi, where you will see I believe a much better livery, of course, because the Kicksauber livery, of course, well, we're seeing of course quite a lot here, but it's just one of those things where I'm not entirely sure on it. Anyway, safety car in this lap. Safety car restart, of course, being led off by the Red Bull driver of Vine. When does he opt to go? He's going to go maybe near the line. Not much weaving going on from the Williams behind, of course. Everyone formed up, and away we go for racing here. Looks like Chuck Norris was caught out a little bit there. Not the best restart there from the Williams driver, perhaps a little bit of inexperience, who knows on that front. I don't know if he's where else obviously he else races from. That's I believe Bulk going into the wall behind, so there's yet another bit of front wing lost for the second of the 2 Red Bulls, and once again not ideal for him. And I believe he'll probably have to drop back to the back of the field once again, having to come back in for a fresh set of tyres. That's 2 cars going side by side. That's Goulas, the championship leader, trying to get back past what is now Goulas now has dropped to position to Lawson as well. So I'm trying to maybe trying to make a move there as well. Picks up a 3-second penalty with that. Obviously chronic understeer from the lack of perhaps front wing. As I ignore that front wing graphics, that will just be there for the entirety of the time, so just ignore that. That's just a glitch which has been in this game for a while. As nearly 9/10 of a second, as we've got the yellow flag once again. That's Goulas, who's had a moment wall or in the runoff area. That's the beginning of the sector. The beginning of the sector 3 split. As Jevy's trying to think about making a move, but he's not going to be able to make one as of yet. As there goes Mel up the inside. They go side by side between the Aston Martin and the Ferrari. Ferrari makes a great move there up the inside, catching the Aston Martin out unawares and moving up into P4, and now going to be having a go here at the kick Sauber driver of Tiger. Gulas and Hysteria going side by side further back. Obviously Gulas has found himself either in great positions or he's found himself in sometimes being involved in places he does not want to be, of course. And just depends really, because he's either had, of course, though, consistency is key in scoring points, and he has scored points on almost every occasion that he has been able to, for the most part. Focus in pits for a set of soft compound tyres, and I think potentially his race might be perhaps run unless there is another safety car, which perhaps that's what his hopes are indeed on in this case. Well, indeed, at least give him the fastest laps for the time being, as Mel still all over the back of Tiger at the moment. Mel trying to look left and right, trying to see if she can force the kick Sauber driver out of position in any way, shape or form. Currently not working at the moment. Tiger's unperturbed at the moment, not wanting to really move too much. As you can see, Javid in the background as well there, trying to make his way through to on the kick Sauber driver, as there goes Mel up the inside, and I think also there's going to be Javid on the inside as well if he can make the move stick, in which he has. Tiger drops down to P5, and now it's going to allow the Ferrari and the Aston Martin to go after the leading two cars who are still yet to pit, of course. Probably maybe going for a medium soft strategy if they are able to pull that one off. As we got a battle behind it as well, that's the battle for P6 at the moment. That's Lawson, Gulas and Hysteria. Hysteria missing part of his front line. I think perhaps involved in that little melee of chaos that ended up happening. As we got Gulas trying to, he's holding on to his position at the moment, but 8 tenths behind, and Hysteria is still sitting in the train just behind him at the moment. It's the Williams driver. Martin holding position for the time being, and I think we got sort of our positions for what is P3. Jevy up to P3, and Chuck Norris drops down to P4. Those tyres will be starting, won't be hurting as of yet, but the older length of tyres on his car are going to be starting to make quite a difference in the amount of grip he potentially will have in the next few laps, of course. The scaling obviously a little bit more, considering just 50% distance rather than the 100% which I'm used to seeing. So Gulas is going to try and make his way through. He's side by side with Lawson. Down the outside he goes. Going to go and do the old trailer park girl style down around the outside. Yes, he managing to pull that one off. Hysteria also looking to try and pull off a move with missing part of his front wing. Still looking to get down the inside. A little bit of a lock up. Side by side, little bit of a rude barging out there from Lawson in the Ferrari, but Hysteria only loses a position and not too much time, as Chuck Norris is once again passed and is making his way into turn 1. He's putting up a little bit of a fight here, and this is not ideal here for Jevy, who's trying to get himself past and has to get away as soon as humanly possible to catch up with the back of Mel, who's now 1.6 seconds behind Vine. And making positions change further back. Gulas making a move on Tiger, as it looks like Lawson is going to try and make a move as well. Down the inside, you can see it going on there. Lawson up to P6 as we are on lap number 10. 15 to go here in the race. As you see, the race laps will go very quickly once they do indeed get going. Obviously, only the one DNF so far. That's Castasar out after only 3 laps of racing. Unfortunate there for 3 laps of racing for him. Hysteria is going to be trying to make a move now, as Tiger has dropped all the way back to P9. You can see P8, rather. I believe that's an issue for Chuck Norris, as he's dropped down like a few positions there. Not entirely sure what has happened to the Williams driver. I've just seen him going a little bit slower. That's going to cost him maybe a position to Lawson as well, if Lawson wants to perhaps get in on the act here on overtaking the Williams driver. Both have DRS, of course. It's going to be on who has the lower wings here, and indeed the Lawson does indeed get past in towards the fight, in towards turn number 16, and in towards turn number 17 as into the pits comes Tiger for a change off from probably a little bit early in the medium, so he's probably perhaps got some damage on that car as they go side by side. The two Williams both threatening on the back of the Ferrari here, the second Ferrari. The other Ferrari is currently up in second and chasing down, and it's a 4.2 second gap there to third place, which is Gulias at the moment, trailing by his teammate just behind by 0.6 of a second. Chuck Norris up the inside, but does not manage to get the job done. Lawson round the outside does get the move done, and Lawson is only about a second behind, and if he can sort of keep himself away from too much of the fighting, he should be in with a good chance of getting himself within that 1 second zone of the cars ahead, both of the Aston Martins, who of course are giving it, well, Jerry getting a toe off, well, toe and DRS off of his teammate currently as the two Williams go side by side. Hysteria and Chuck Norris, these two not working well together as teammates at the moment. Hysteria makes the move on Chuck Norris for the time being, but Williams drivers wanting to avoid potentially a Williams civil war here, making sure there's no contact. Of course, that's the most winning most on contact between teammates is important, as I believe I just missed it unfortunately. We've had a change of lead. That is fine, dropping down to second place unfortunately, as Hysteria is going to be trying to make his way through still on the back of Lawson. Lawson with not the best of exits coming off that corner, using no battery as such. Up the inside goes Hysteria, going to be making their way through up towards turn number 16, sorry, 16 and 17. Towards turn number 1, still side by side they go, but it's going to be wide from Hysteria as Lawson's back up the inside, but it's going to be on the outside. However, that's going to give him a good run as he heads off of here. They're still going to be side by side, and I think it's going to be DRS, of course, for the Williams driver. Hysteria's once again going to have a chance here as Chuck Norris onto the hard compound tyres back in P7 as Hysteria and Lawson still side by side. Hysteria going side by side in a long periods of time on this track here. It is one of those tracks where you can go side by side and indeed make it work. You just need to be somewhat careful of making sure that you leave enough space for the cars around you, of course. But these two continue to battle. The closest battle currently on track at the moment. We'll come back to these two in just a moment. Looks like Jerry and Steamer are currently about 1 second apart from each other. Gulas has indeed still kept hold of, has indeed still got his position there in third. 0.8 of a second covers those two, but you can notice that the field can spread out a little bit quickly in places as the Williams and the Ferrari once again go side by side, giving us the entertainment of the race at the moment. You can see just in front, of course, these two Aston Martins with the DRS sharing just in front as well, but it looks like Jeremy might be in a little bit of trouble there. That next time around without the DRS, he's going to have to do a little bit of work to get himself back in that range. Hysteria does indeed get past, allowing him to be the turn of Cena. Lawson does, as into the pits now comes Vine. He's going to go for likely a set of hards. Yes, he is. Interesting, he didn't box underneath that safety car. Would have been potentially a long time on the hards, but I'm surprised he didn't pit when the safety car actually came out. He decided to carry on. Perhaps a bit of a mistake there. Perhaps maybe being a little bit rusty. Of course, I can partially understand, considering he's been away from the racing in PGS for quite a while, so I could partially understand if that was the case. But these two, of course, do continue on their battle, which is currently for fourth at the moment, obviously with those drivers having pitted. The Vine obviously now come back out in P6. He's ahead of Chuck Norris, who he's managed to get ahead of, he was indeed ahead of anyway. I think that gap is very slightly bigger than when he went into the pit lane before, in terms of the gap that he was building, as a Tiger is looking to make his way through on the back of Chuck Norris now, having come out just ahead of the kick-sauber of Tiger. And Chuck Norris will be looking in his rear view mirrors to make sure he keeps an eye on that, to make sure that he does not try not to give him a toe as too much, but obviously, of course, this track is so wide that I feel like if you do try to fend one side, you you really, it's kind of a fruitless process really. As we reach half race distance here, these two the closest battle currently for position number 7. The Williams driver having just pitted and having to get his tyres up to temperature, and the Kicksauber driver with a 1 lap on his tyres already, so he will have the benefit of the tyres already being up to temperature to a point and not having to worry too much, as Mel continues to lead this Grand Prix from Goulas, with the gap now is about 5.6 seconds between those two. 2.3 is the gap between himself and his teammate in 3rd place, currently an Aston Martin 2-3. Better job than they got today in the Brazilian Grand Prix, unfortunately, from themselves. No points in that one. It was a bit of a, so we know Stroll had his moments on the formation lap, and unfortunately Alonso, even though the damage was repaired to his car from qualifying, unfortunately I believe he was not 100% happy with it, but he still finished the race for the mechanics, which is a nice little gesture there. I've got a little bit off topic, but that does tend to happen when there's not as much going on within the field, of course. But of course it can all change if there's any chance of potential safety cars that could arise from that. As I think there's a little bit of a moment there from Tiger. I think he's had a very slight moment with the rear of his car. Excuse me, sorry about that. I don't know why that does that, but it just kicks me out of parties for reasons, even though I'm not in a party with anyone and it's my party. Yeah, that's just annoying. There's a lot of foibles, really. At least on Xbox 360. I actually told you when you disconnect from a party. It doesn't actually tell you on this game, on this console at all. The new gen. I don't know why that was a feature that's was not kept on from 360. Anyone who, of course, maybe not from this, maybe not potentially not from the track, the chat, who knows, about the fact of those sorts of things. The Tiger is still carrying on with his battle with the Chuck Norris, who's about 10.4 seconds behind at the moment, so has lost a fair bit of time in terms of to the car ahead, that being Vine. In the second of the first of the two Red Bulls, the other Red Bull running in 9th at the moment, and there is Vine picking up a penalty. The second car to pick up a penalty in this race for track limits this year. And not happy with their interpretations of that, but sometimes you do have to wonder with the track limits on this game whether or not sometimes they are actually track limits or not, because I feel like sometimes you pick up track limits for not even track limits. You'll have 2 wheels in the track, but you won't actually have track limits being such a thing as you've got up to Hysteria, who's gaining ground on the back of Jebby. Looks like Jebby's struggling a little bit, maybe running a little bit higher winds perhaps. Let's say Hysteria doing a very good job with the little bit of front wing that he is indeed missing on that, as we are on lap number 16 at the moment. Mel still leading this Grand Prix. 6 seconds is the gap between those two. Just clocked over 6 seconds, and about 4 seconds is back to this battle here. Hysteria looking to perhaps, I don't know if he's actually picked up a podium as of yet, as there's a massively sliding Ferrari in the background. That would be Lawson, trying to get his way into the action by any means necessary, and pushing his car to the maximum as Hysteria goes up into P3. Jevy dropping down into P4, but he will have his chance to make his way through into P3 if he can keep hold of that, as Hysteria makes a little bit of a mistake there. Nope, that's just a bit of lag. That's probably just a little bit of a potential host to where he is in the States. That's something I would expect. Another penalty for the Red Bull driver, the second Red Bull driver, currently running in last place at the moment. Unfortunately for not being his day today. For even the Red Bull team in general, perhaps pulling a little bit of a Ferrari strategy, as we have a change of position as Tiger does get past. I think there was a mistake there from Chuck Norris, having dropped back to now P8, because he was ahead of the Kicksauber driver, but the Kicksauber driver has got about a second gap on the Williams driver. Looks still managed to keep himself just within that range, but we'll have to work a little bit harder just to subject back within just about that range there to make a move once again. Gap to the front while we are watching once again the battle for third place between Asteria and Jevi. That gap is now at 5.6. Gules has responded to that gap, going about 6.1 seconds was the biggest I saw that. But has responded, trying to bring that gap down while we're watching the battle. Lawson just trying to creep his way forward into that battle with the DRS for these two here, meaning that, well, DRS for the Aston Martin, second the Aston Martins, is effectively meaning that he can't really get close enough to get anywhere near that space where he needs to get to. He's about 4.4 seconds behind at this moment in time. As see if there is any inroads between the top two at the moment. You can see they're just on his own at the moment. That's 5.7 in. See if you can actually isn't even able to see the Ferrari. The Ferrari's currently just a little bit further down the straight. Coming down towards the tracks at the end of near the end of the third sector, which is 15 and 16. Those two there is still carrying on there. We're going to go back to the battle for 7th at the moment, looking like there's potentially going to be a swap up position there. Nope, Chuck Norris not able to get near enough to the back of Tiger, and through almost trying to make the move here, so we're going to see potentially a bit of the DRS here to try and get past. And we're going to see Tiger, we're going to see him get close enough, you can see him go side by side. That's going to be moved done for the Williams driver once again back into P7. As into the pits comes Lawson off of his tyres. I'm not sure why I wonder if he's had some damage on that car. Going on to mediums. He may well be just ahead of this battle actually. We'll have to have a look and see if he does need to come out ahead of this battle. He's coming out of the pits now. He's going to be involved actually. So he's going to have to be careful here. These two coming out of the pits. Is he going to be just ahead? Yes, he is. That's the crucial thing for the Ferrari drivers. They're going side by side. Very good racing there between the two of them. Round the outside for Chuck Norris. Does get the job done on Tiger. Tiger drops back down into P8 once again, having made the overtake. So Chuck Norris back in at P7 now. See if you can get close to the back of Lawson, but I think Lawson is going to pull away from those two. Jevi has about fell out of that 1 second zone from the car, just ahead of him. Excuse me, sorry about that. So you're looking good in third place now. See how, of course, going on to lap 18. After that, what happened earlier on in this Grand Prix looks like it's kind of settled down a little bit. I just noticed a little bit of a mistake from the Williams driver. I mean, not the easiest track to have your debut on. The balls are very close, and if you make any mistakes, really, much like Monaco, it's much like a much higher speed version of Monaco. You're going to be perhaps heading straight for one of those barriers if you're not careful. Tiger once again is passed in towards the section of 15 and 16. And through the goal, looks like I think there's been a moment. I think he's let him go back through. I think he's just realised what he's done, and he's let him go back through. So fair enough. I think he put him out of position. I think the Tiger has had a moment. I think he's no front wing on that car, so he's coming into the pits. So he's going to be having an issue there as Chuck Norris picks himself up a penalty now as well. Stewart's having a field day today. With the penalties at the moment, but not as much of a track to really pick medium tires for Tiger there with that very long pit stop. So at the moment your closest battle I think is currently Jevi and Asteria. These two about 2.1 seconds apart from each other, as Jevi's looking to try and get himself back from that range and seems to be closing in quickly onto the back of this field, or back into the back of this, back into the back of the Williams rather. 1.9. Looks like though Asteria has responded there. As you can see there, that is on his fresher hard compound tyres. That is a Vine coming through, 6.8 seconds, trying to make his mark on the battle between third and fourth. About 4.5 seconds behind. Yes, currently in P2 is Mel, in control of this race so far, and looking to be in what is a very great position. for the victory here. So there's been a huge commentator's curse right there, because I do know that is definitely a thing that can happen if you're not careful. As you can see there, going on board, obviously, so you're gonna have to get. Obviously, he's gonna have to get 3 seconds on the cars ahead of him. But if he can pull it off, he should be able to get P3 on what is much fresher tyres. Obviously, all those ahead of him boxed underneath the full safety car. He did not. He went slightly later. So Vine looking to try and see what he can do in his pursuit of 4th place at the moment. 5.7 seconds is the gap. Just gone up very slightly. Perhaps carrying a little bit more wing because he seems to have had a little bit of a mistake there. The hard compound tyres, of course, a very durable tyre. So you will see the drivers. These drivers will make it to the end who boxed under the safety car. Those two will manage to get to the end on those tyres. But at the moment, it is currently Mel. We'll go on board with Mel at the moment. We've not really seen it much of for a little while here. The Ferrari driver currently leading this Grand Prix. Well, who will be at the driver on screen here? Who will be looking to be heading to perhaps the casinos with the good luck had so far of getting away underneath that, getting away after the safety car came in, obviously, having boxed. I believe if Jevy had maybe had a few less issues, perhaps with maybe with the battling with the Chuck Norris, perhaps maybe we could have actually seen him up there with the Ferrari driver battling for the lead of the Grand Prix. But currently, as I say, the Ferrari driver is still just driving around and seeing exactly, just driving to what needs to be done and using the Alan Prost approach of trying to just measure out what needs to be done now, because the gap is big enough where there's no real concerns for the Ferrari driver at the moment, and we are running probably close to the last lap. You're most likely to see a safety car is likely to be on lap number 23. That is so we've got 2 laps left of possible safety car action here in Las Vegas, if there is going to be any. And I see though that the safety car graphic does indeed disappear now. Was for quite a while. It would just sit there even after the safety car went in. But yeah, at the moment, not really too much else to say about this race, because it's all really sort of settled down at the moment, as we have 3 to go here. Lap number 22 of 25, so a quick rundown of the grid. It is Mel who leads this Grand Prix, having started in, if I have a quick old look, who started on pole position. Gulas also, who has not moved from where he is. He's currently in P2. Mysteria, who was in P3, not moved either. 4th is currently Jevy, who's up 5 positions. He started in P9, I believe. Then 1 position there, as we got a yellow flag. That's a brief yellow flag, though, unfortunately. Bulk, who's once again having issues of his own, is about to be lapped by the field. That's unfortunate there for him. Vine, who's down 1, he started in 4th. Lawson, who's up 4, he started in 10th. Chuck Norris in 7th on his debut, not doing too bad, had some decent battles so far in the field with a few of the drivers. Tiger in 8th, it's been not an ideal day, but he is exactly where he started. And then Bulk is currently your biggest loser at the moment. He's currently down 4 from where he started, but he has had some adventures today. Has the Ferrari driver, as the Red Bull driver, and I think he's going into the pits perhaps to get the fast lap of the Grand Prix. Yes, he is, most likely. I would think that's what's happening. And claiming that extra fastest lap point to get 3 points. 2 points rather from this race. He does get lapped, so he will finish in 24, so he will have a lap to do that. So yeah, indeed has gone for those tyres. Going to see as your closest on track at the moment is currently Vine, trying to get as close as he possibly can, but I don't think he's going to get close enough to the back of Jevy, currently holding on to P4. But yeah, it's been one of those races where the race kind of the safety car kind of did the opposite of what I was expecting it would do. It kind of everyone kind of separated away into their own little groups, and I think it'll be a lot more interesting with more interesting with more cars this track. I think 10 cars kind of dulls down the action a little bit in terms of it. I mean, it kind of just highlights to me the problems with a track like this in terms of if you're in a DRS train with someone, then you can very easily just pull away. And if you end up out of said DRS train, then you can also be in trouble, because if the cars behind you have DRS, then it's going to be a near constant swap, and you're going to not be really catching up unless you're doing some DRS swapping as such. And that's really sort of the thing with a track like this, is how no DRS obviously on this main straight, of course, as well, because it's curved left-hander in this final corner with turn 17. You don't really think that. Obviously you used to be able to run DRS on older games on pretty much any run as we've gone on to the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix. As we have a yellow flag, of course, once again. That looks like that was Tiger having an issue. He looks like he's still in the race for the time being. He's got himself going. But the older games being able to use DRS wherever you would wish to do so, I think that'd be an interesting rule to be brought back for real life. I think that'd be an interesting one. But at this point, really, I'm just kind of doing a little bit of rambling, because as you can see on screen, apart from the fact that I can see there's a little bit of a battle going on at the moment, it looks like it's been a moment for Jevy. I think he's had an issue here somewhere. That's, I think Chuck Norris had a bit of a moment there, going through the kinks at 15 and 16 there, but go into position for the moment. It goes fine, but I don't know if he will keep hold of that position. He needs to get 3 seconds of a gap on Jevy, and of course he's only got 1 lap to do that, and he can just get the DRS back on this next bit of straight, where you'll be able to see it as there goes Tiger into, I believe, the runoff area. So he's going to have to be a little bit careful of the rejoin on that one. He should be okay to rejoin just after the Ferrari there on the mini-map, as Jevy just will sit behind and not have to worry too much, or we'll just go for the move on the final lap of the Grand Prix. But hasn't really worked out, that strategy for Vine. He kind of, perhaps, as I say, as I was thinking earlier on, perhaps would have been better for him to come in under the safety car, and Jevy is indeed not able to complete the move, as Bulk does indeed set fast lap of the Grand Prix. 33.3, and now I think Tiger is going to go into the softs, but it's not going to matter for him, because unfortunately he's not going to get that potential extra lap. Now he's most likely been lapped, so that is pretty much probably his race done and dusted, and Jevy has of course dropped back now, so it may well be possible once he gets him out of that DRS, if he can pull away, of course. He needs to get another second or so if he wants to make that work. You'll probably be able to see if I go on board with the Red Bull AC is using quite a bit of battery charge, but at this point you're on the final lap of the Grand Prix, and you do, at this point, there's not really too much more needs to really be used for the battery, because end of the Grand Prix, because we're about to be done very soon with this entire race. So we're going to go on board with the Ferrari driver currently heading through Sector 3, and well, what can really be said is Mel qualifying on pole had a brief bit of action there from Gulas in the early stages of the Grand Prix. Safety car obviously boxing underneath the boxing under the safety car for a new set of tyres, and took those to the end of the Grand Prix. But it is going to be race victory here under the lights here in Las Vegas for Mel in the Ferrari. So well done to the Dutchman, and here we go across the line. That is job done for the Ferrari. Nice job there, as that is Bulk getting lapped just behind Gulas, who's going to come home in P2 and indeed increase his championship lead. Steer comes across to finish in P3 in the Williams. So good result there for him, and I think there's going to be enough of a gap for Vine to keep hold of 4th place. It's going to be about 0.6 of a second. Yes, it is. Lawson comes home in P6, or will be coming home in P6. Chuck Norris will come home in P7 on his debut, and obviously Bulk and Tiger were indeed both lapped, so not a good day for the second Red Bull and the only kick server, unfortunately, here today. Lawson comes home in P6, of course, and then Chuck Norris, the final car to cross the finish line here in the race, and not quite getting that quite right as they head through in towards the final corner, turn number 17, and that is going to be your race here in Vegas. Driver of the Day award, we'll see in just a moment, see as to who that goes to. That's most likely going to go to Hysteria. I believe that. I could pretty much, I can get on board. I think Driver of the Day for me is going to go to, Hysteria is the Driver of the Day from the game, but I think Mel is going to pick up Driver of the Day from me. So well done to the Ferrari driver, great drive there, controlling drive as well, so well done on that front, with obviously, of course, Gulas and Hysteria also on the podium here in PGS round 11 from Las Vegas. So next week, while we wait for the results to load up, I will get that pulled up so we can find where that potentially that's going to be. Mel is of course your race victor from not quite lights the flag victory, but near enough. Gulas and Hysteria finish off the podium. Just off the podium in 4th is of course Vine with Jevy in 5th, just behind by 6/10. Lawson in 6th, Chuck Norris in 7th, Volk in 8th, and Tiger in 9th. Those two a lap down, and your only non-finisher was of course Stasser in the McLaren. So we are heading for the next round, we will be heading towards the east. Heading towards Asia for what will be the next round, and that will take us to the Shanghai International Circuit in China. So look forward to the action from the Chinese Grand Prix there when we come back next week.